Hi guys, Jasmo here, and today I'm gonna give you some tips for making early currency on a Leaguestart, how to have much more currency than normally on the Leaguestart. We're gonna talk about my recommended Leaguestart builds for the Sentinel League, as well as what is my personal Leaguestart strategy, which is going to be a little bit unusual and different than I would recommend for most people, but I'm doing it as sort of a challenge for myself. So first, let's start with something that I think would help the most people, which is the league mechanic that a lot of people are skipping early on because they're trying to progress Atlas as fast as possible, but it's actually making them progress the Atlas slower because they're struggling to get currency for their upgrades, they're struggling to have enough damage or enough survivability or clear speed, and they're like always behind the currency curve and not able to afford things like early inspired learnings and things like that. So how do you solve that? What do you do? Basically, no matter what you're doing, like if your goal is to just like play regularly, right? If you're not one of the people who races for like first level 100, if you're not playing to like race to the end game bosses to try to be one of the first people to kill them, like if you're not racing specifically, but you do want to get there as fast as possible still to like to the like high power of your character, that's what you care. Like you want to make your character strong and then progress through Atlas as fast as possible, then you need to be doing heist early on, right? Like I don't care if you don't like heist. I mean, if you don't like heist, you just don't do it, right? It's up to you, and you always can prioritize having fun, right? If you want. But in games, a lot of people are making this mistake where they're doing something for fun, and then they end up not having fun because they're not winning, or they're not performing well, or they're not as strong as they want to be, right? So you really have to figure out like what is fun for you, right? Is fun for you just running through maps and forever and ever and just grinding? Okay, then do that. But is it more fun for you if your character is strong and you can go to higher tier content sooner? Well, in that case, you should be doing heist. How to do heist at a Leaguestart? There are multiple strategies with this. The one that I would recommend for everyone, and I literally mean everyone, if you're just like a regular player and you want to progress through the story and then go into the maps and just play the game, just play the league as normal, then this is what I recommend to you. Go to the Rogue Harbor at level 59, okay? Go to Rogue Harbor at level 59, talk to this guy and buy contracts, right? If you're level 59, your contracts are going to be level 60, which means in those contracts you're going to be able to find rares for Chaos Recipe. The contracts that you want to be prioritizing are as following. First of all, lockpicking. Everybody knows lockpicking are the contracts that are dropping tons of currency, so lockpicking number one. Number two, you wanna do demolition, right? Demolition contracts have rewards that are unlocked after level 68. So if you're doing lower than 68 contracts, they're gonna be generic chests, which are gonna give you mostly currency. And then you also wanna do perception, which have jewelry and as well as these big random chests that give you mostly as well currency. So those three are going to give you the most money. You can also do deception, because deception is useful for later for reveals, as well as like getting your Jenna up, as well as getting like stacked decks, which can be very valuable as well, a very good source of currency. So deception is also decent, but those three, like lockpicking, perception and demolition, are the best. Your goal while you're doing this is to just pick up the raw currency, and what you're gonna find there is going to be tons and tons of currency that you're gonna need. You're gonna find Harvey orbs, you're gonna find horizon orbs, very useful for mapping. It's gonna help your map progression. You're gonna find tons of chisels. That's gonna help your map progression. You're gonna have tons of alchemies. You're gonna have orbs of binding. You're gonna have tons of chaos, just generic currency that is gonna help you progress. You're gonna find more fusings and jewelers. That's gonna help you link your stuff. You're gonna find chromatic orbs. You're gonna find blessed orbs. So many like different random currency you're gonna be dropping that you're gonna have so much more of this than normally. And then of course you're gonna be doing Chaos Recipe. When you're doing Chaos Recipe, what I recommend is having stash tabs set up, for example, like this, right? And one is gonna be for armors, right? So you're just gonna drop the armors, like you don't identify them, just pick up as long as it's level 16. For example, my loot filter shows orange background for rares when they are within the range for chaos recipe. So at a glance, I don't need to check if they're the right item level. I just pick them up, right? I just pick them up and dump them here. So I dump armors here, I dump weapons here. My loot filter will only show me like the 3x1 weapons, so I can stack a lot of them here. Then helmets, gloves, boots, and then just all the jewelry I just dump here. The good thing about Heist is that the contracts that I mentioned are going to be dropping tons of jewelry rewards, and normally jewelry is the limiting factor. Normally you don't have enough rings or you don't have enough amulets to do the chaos recipe, but if you're doing Heist, you're going to have tons of them. In fact, you're actually going to have more of them a lot of the time than the other pieces, like for example gloves, boots, and helmets. And then when you just start going into the maps, you're gonna like fill these in and you're gonna do tons of chaos recipes. You can do 2 chaos recipes at the time. If you have armors, you just get 2 armors, 4 weapons. Each is like taking 3 slots, 2 of this, 2 of this, 2 of this, and then 4 rings, 2 belts, and 2 amulets. It's going to fit into all, it's gonna fill your inventory like this, except for 2 slots, which you can have for your Scroll of Wisdom and Portal Scroll, and you're gonna be able to vendor 2 unidentified chaos recipes at a time, which are gonna give you 4 chaos at a time. Like per one trade, you're gonna get 4 chaos. So you just do this, 4 chaos, 4 chaos, 4 chaos, and basically when you fill your stash tabs, that's when you do that, right? When you like have a bunch of stuff here, you just do multiple of them at a time and then you continue. So what levels I recommend to sticking to this? I recommend going from level 59, which means contracts level 60, until your character being like level 65, 66. It's gonna take you not that much time because you're gonna be just leveling and progressing. So you don't have to de-level your character, you don't have to do any of that. You're just normally playing the game and you're just doing the contracts, and you're gonna be easily able to self-sustain the contracts. And if you're running out of the currency, if you don't have the chance orb to do that, you can get some chance orbs from the vendor or buy them from people, or simply just continue running through the story until you find a couple of chance orbs and do more contracts. But I've never had that problem. I am always able to sustain the contracts. If you're just buying the right one, you're gonna find some chance orbs and it's gonna be very, very easy to buy them. So even if you, for example, don't have the good contracts at level, when you're level 59 and level 60, just buy the ones that are good. Let's say you only have like 1 good contract, right? Just buy the good contracts and then continue leveling, right? Let's say you're doing like blood aqueducts, continue through the blood aqueducts. When you hit level up, go and check again. If you have now like 3 good contracts, then start running them, right? And when you're gonna be running them, you're gonna be getting so much currency, so many items, and you're gonna basically able to make in that range, like you're gonna be able to make like around 100 to 150 C very, very easily. And 100 to 150 C early on is like 3x maybe or something at that stage. It's a lot of currency, and you are able to pick up basically any, like if you have like any expensive unique early on, if you have like cold iron point that you want to get, if you have any expensive thing that people like are pricing very, very high up because everybody wants it for their build, early on you're going to be able to get it, right? If you want to get like a 5-link flesh crafter or something very early, right? If you want to get all of these things early on, you're gonna be able to get them by doing this strategy. So this is what I recommend, right? This is something very, very important. So chaos recipe, and making sure that you're doing the heist between like levels like 60 to 65 at least. It's not gonna slow your progression much, because you're still gonna be leveling your character, you're still gonna be progressing, but you're gonna be making so much more currency than you would be if you just straight up try to push through the story and through the maps right away. So definitely I recommend that. When it comes to the builds, right, let's talk about builds. I think I already saw a video made by Big Dax, which has a list of starter builds that are basically exactly the same that I would recommend. So I'm going to link this video in the description. You can check that out. I think this list is very good and contains a lot of builds that are very powerful, and these are like basically the best starters, right? So we've got here Seismic Trap and Fizz Traps, which is very good. Skelemage Summoner, very, very good, well-rounded build. Absolution Summoner, this is something that you do basically basically on your way to scale mages. Like before you have the Dead Reckoning, you play with Absolution. Then we got EA Ballista, very powerful build. Poisonous Concoction, very, very powerful build. And I think he's linking here a bunch of guides, including one of my guides, so you can check that one on my channel as well. Basically, the one that worked for previous league is gonna work for this league as well. Spectral Helix, Lightning Strike, so all the people are gonna like progress through Spectral Helix and then do Lightning Strike. That's gonna be a popular build as well. It's very powerful. Righteous Fire, a bunch of people are playing that. Cold Dot, I'm actually not very much aware of how good Cold Dot is, but that's one build that I think would not be on my list, simply because I don't know enough about that. But Corrupting Fever for sure. Lightning Arrow and Bow builds, yes, that's what I'm basically doing. I'm doing Rain of Arrows, but you can also do Lightning Arrow version and so on, right? So these builds are very, very good, and I would definitely recommend that. So now let's talk about my Leaguestart strategy, which is going to be a little bit unusual. I have a bunch of notes made for my Leaguestart, and it's going to be basically early on. My plan is to do infinite heisting. So what I'm gonna be doing, I'm gonna progress my character Rain of Arrows Raider with Hrimsorrow. Then we're gonna get the boots for like the curse on hit Rain of Arrows here set up, and just very, very easy to craft bow with like slapping an essence on it and having just like elemental damage and crafting another elemental damage. That's gonna be basically my build, a Rain of Arrows, possibly using precise technique as well still at this point. And this Rain of Arrow build is going to be clearing these contracts that are gonna be at least level 62. So that's why I'm leveling to level 61. I'm doing 3 labs, so I'm basically rushing to Merciless Lab, and my goal is to do it under 4 hours. So far in practice I've been able to do this like pretty much every single time under 4 hours, and after like 4 hours I'm gonna be already heisting and making a big currency. So I'm gonna be running contracts level 62 and 63 because those contracts can drop a lot of good uniques like Cold Iron Points, Carcass Jack, what else, Death's Oath, things like that that are very build enabling and important for other builds and are charged premium early on in the league. So I'm gonna be early heisting anywhere between like 6 hours to like maybe the whole first day. I'm gonna be doing that, right? After that I'm gonna be doing a bunch of flipping, right? So what am I gonna be flipping? I'm gonna be flipping different divination cards, potentially uniques, potentially some bases. There's a bunch of things that I'm gonna be looking at flipping. And then I'm gonna be also flipping some consumables, potentially also sniping some things that are bound to grow in value. Like I found a way of actually buying divination cards for an item that if I buy the divination cards instead of the whole item and I wait like a week, I'm gonna make 20 times my currency based on the previous leagues, right? So if the trends from previous leagues repeat this time, I can like 20 times my investment within a week, right? So I'm potentially gonna be investing some currency in stuff like that because I'm gonna have excess currency due to basically just infinite heisting and ignoring my Atlas progression. And then when I have tons of currency, I'm gonna put a little bit of it into my character, just very, very bare minimum, like efficient upgrades, and then I'm gonna start mapping. I'm gonna basically use the currency to fill in my maps, and I'm gonna focus on crafting. So I'm gonna be doing first infinite heisting, then I'm gonna be doing some flipping, and then I'm gonna be doing some crafting. The way I'm gonna be doing some crafting is very much enabled by this Atlas skill tree. This Atlas skill tree is what I'm gonna have like pretty much at the end. So this is like only 27 points left. So this is like filling in most of the tree. So you have to like get to red maps to fill all of this. But let me like break down this tree. I'm gonna link it also in the description so you can copy that if you're interested in doing the exact same strategy. But just bear in mind that this is specifically for focusing only on crafting in this specific way, right? So what I'm focusing on are essences, beasts, and harvest. Those 3 things, right? So as you can see, we're going here through essences, we're going here for and also map sustain, right? Early on map sustain, but then later I can remove the map sustain, right? So we're going through here, we're going map sustain, we're going for the Kirak missions, we're grabbing almost all of these, right? So this is blocking rogue markers, this is blocking metamorph, this is blocking delirium, this is blocking blight, this is blocking ritual altars, breaches, abysses, Expedition, and Legion. I do not recommend doing this like just in general, right? Like for example, blocking Delirium Mirror, that's kind of insane, right? You're losing so much money by doing this unless you're doing the exact strategy that I'm doing, right? So definitely don't block this just by default, right? This is just specific for my strategy. The only thing I'm not blocking here is Sacred Grove, and I'm getting basically 9 times 2, so that's 18 extra chance for the Sacred Grove. I'm getting extra chance for Sacred Grove in other nodes as well. We're getting the bumper crop, so we can get additional harvest. This is additional crafting options. This is additional chance for Sacred Grove and additional crafting options. So we're getting a bunch of harvest stuff here. Then we're also getting harvest stuff here, which is a 10% chance for the unchosen crop to not wilt. So it's like basically allowing you to do both of the crops out of the ones that you can choose 10% of the time. So this is like 10% more crafts basically, which is a great node. This is extra chance. Then we've got more essence things. Basically, we're picking all the essence stuff. And then we've got the beast thing. Since this is just 1 point for me, I'm picking the also Einhar stuff. So anytime I have Einhar, so potentially I'm going to be using, like I have 2 choices, right? I can either use Stream of Consciousness for 50% more base chance for extra content, or I can use a Bestiary Scarab and Essence on Map Device, for example, so that I can guarantee like more essences and guarantee beasts and guarantee Einhar, which is always going to be with me and which is going to be doing massive amounts of damage, and then also potentially getting the Great Migration, right? When it comes to these nodes, definitely want to pick up the small ones, definitely want to pick up Natural Selection, and then apparently it's better to only pick one of these. I'm not sure if I'm going to be picking one of these or 2 of these. Like it makes sense to pick 2 of these in my opinion, because I want both, right? I want the Phenomenal Plague Arachnid and I want the Chrysic Chimeral or whatever. So we definitely want these. I'll look into it more to optimize it, but like by default this is fine, I think. So we're focusing on the beasts, focusing on the essences. We're gonna be getting tons of essences, and we're focusing on the harvest. Other than that, I'm gonna be basically now working on harvest basis. So I'm basically gonna open my trade. I'm gonna go to better trade, and I'm gonna set up all the trade. This is what I'm gonna be doing today. I'm gonna be setting up all the trades for my harvest basis, so that whenever I get to these maps and whenever I want to start doing harvest, I'm basically just gonna click on it and it's gonna automatically search for my stuff, right? I'm gonna have all the searches here, so I'm not gonna have to think, okay, which base do I want for? I'm gonna just figure all of this ahead of time, and I definitely recommend figuring stuff ahead of time so that you can save the time, right? So if you need any upgrades for your build, I recommend getting the better trading add-on for Chrome, I think. That's what it is. And you can save here. You can see my, like from my previous leagues, I was doing this when I was playing, for example, Toxic Rain Champion. And so I wanted to, for example, be able to get some like 3 properties Toxic Rain jewels, right? And I click here and fail to search, okay, because it's a different league, right? It's a different league, that's why. But like I was looking for like Queen of the Forest, I was looking for different things, and the Queens of the Forest, I don't have to type it, I don't have to think about it, I just have everything here. Helmet for Reservation Essence, right? So this will show me like the right bases with the right enchants and stuff like that, right? So there's a bunch of stuff that you can just save, and instead of like typing the search and selecting the parameters for this, you can basically have it here and save. It's a very, very helpful add-on. So that's basically it. I think we covered everything. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice Leaguestart.